What is up, guys? I'm Lamb Trades, and today I'm going to break down my top 3 stocks for the week of May 14th, 2021. This is my weekly watch list video that I break down a review of what happened in the markets last week, what I'm expecting going into the next week, and 3 stocks in specific that I'll be watching out for. Let's go over the economic events and what we should be watching out for this week. On Wednesday, we have the core CPI data and federal budget. On Thursday, we have those initial and continuing jobless claims, and then on Friday, we have retail sales and consumer sentiment. As always, we want to pay attention to these pieces of data as they will show us how the economy is recovering, and we will cover how last week that unemployment data was very important. Now, we also have earnings this week. This is one of the last week for those important earnings, and I will be watching out for these companies. On Monday, we have Space, NVAX, and Roblox. On Tuesday, we have PLTR and Jumia, Fubo and Lemonade in after hours. And then on Thursday, we have Alibaba with Disney, Airbnb, and DoorDash in after hours. These are not all the earnings happening this week, but these are the ones that I feel will be most important and have the biggest impact on their respective sectors. Keep in mind, this earnings season, most of these companies have sold off even after reporting very good earnings. So I will be watching not for playing the earnings, but for playing the continuation off of different levels through these stocks. Now, let's go over what we saw in the markets last week. As we predicted, SPY really traded between these technicals this week, as we were able to use that 418 nicely as support on Monday after breaking down and gapping down to that 416 level in pre-market on Tuesday. We did carry lower all the way down to 411 before bouncing and being able to reclaim that 416 using again support on Wednesday and then again on Thursday. We did open below that 416 and were able to get a nice reversal, breaking back above using support to rally us above 418 again on Thursday. I know it's a whole lot of numbers, but we were finally able to get above 420 and then created a new all-time high at that 422.82. One thing we did want to watch out for on Friday was that unemployment rate, which ended up missing horrendously. We were expected to add about 900,000 jobs, but instead added 200,000, and the market was loving it. The reason why this is bullish for stocks is because the longer it takes to get back to full employment, the longer interest rates will stay low. This was the main reason why we saw tech rally hard in pre-market, which if we go to QQQ, we can see Friday we saw a huge push higher as many of these tech stocks are highly affected by interest rates. Going into next week for SPY, I'll definitely be watching out for that 422.82 level as we did double top on Friday. If we do pull back, we will retest 420, and if we can use it support, I think we will push higher again. But if we break below 420, watch for 419 and then 418 to be used as support. I'll be updating my outlook on SPY daily in my Discord. If you would like to join, it's free, linked in the description. Now, let's go over the plays we were watching this week. The first play we were watching was Twitter. We wanted to see how Twitter would react to either of these trend lines, and we were not able to see it break, which didn't give us a good opportunity to play. However, it'll be very important to see what Twitter does this week. As you can see, Twitter broke below this previous support of this downtrend and was retesting it and used it as resistance twice. If we look on the longer term time frame, we can see Twitter has used this red support trend line as support many other times. Now we have a fight between that previous support that is now resistance and the support that has always been support. I want to see what Twitter will do, and I think this week will definitely give us a clear direction as we have to break either way, and one trend line will eventually be stronger than the other. If we can break above this previous support, I do think we'll rally higher, possibly retesting that $59 to $60 level. And if we do break below, I do think we have some room to falling towards that $49 to even $46 to $45 level on Twitter. I'll be watching and keeping up to date with this play, but I would like to play off of the break rather than trying to presume which way it's going to go. The next play we were watching, it was kind of a combination between Square and PayPal. Let's go over Square first. We were in this downtrend on Square and had a nice bounce going into earnings off of that support trend line. Then with a really bullish earnings on Square, we could retest that 200 SMA, which we were rejected by. We did close above this 232 support, which is bullish, and I think if we can hold above, we should be able to consolidate, hopefully retesting this resistance trend line. If we pull this resistance trend line out, we can see that if we do retest, we should retest that 242 to 246 range on Square, so I'll be watching for a break of this range. If we look at PayPal also beat on earnings, not as well as Square, but we did get a close below that 255 support and 200 SMA, which is a little bearish. It looks like we are forming a little symmetrical triangle, so if we can get a break of this support, which we may have gotten on close in Friday, I'd have to go through this a little bit better, but you can see that support there. I don't like these candlesticks, so I don't think that's a valid pattern, but depending on how we open and where we open on Monday, if we open below this support, I think we will continue down, but if we open above, we do have room to run. The next play we were watching was also a simultaneous play. It was both DraftKings and Penn. Let's go over DraftKings first. This was a very painful one this week, as we did exit that premium play that we had in the challenge, taking a 30% loss, which was tough, but we also just had a horrendous couple of days on DraftKings, wiping out $5 billion in market cap, even with this really bullish earnings. So after we broke out of this resistance and then retested, let me pull it up to a closer time frame. So we broke out of this support and retested, creating again as resistance at 57 level, which isn't bullish. And then Thursday morning, we did carry down tremendously after Penn reported really bullish earnings. I wish I could tell you why, but I just couldn't. We just really sold off on the stock. We couldn't find anything as support as we continued down. We did see a slight bounce due to this support trend line at the bottom of this downtrend, and then we saw really bullish earnings on DraftKings, but we're unable to hold, just like many other stocks. So after we reported earnings, we did end up selling off, breaking that bottom support. Unfortunately, we do have some room to fall. This is a really ugly chart, and I do think we will fall to that $45 level due to that break in the 200 SMA. But if we can reclaim that 200 SMA, I think that would be really bullish. I do think we will retest that $44 to $45 level first. And if we break below there, we do have a couple of room to fall before some more levels. So I'll be sure to keep this one updated. But watch for us to retest that 45 as support. And if we do retest this previous support using it resistance, that will also be a good indicator if we can break above or continue lower. The next play we were watching was Penn, and this was one of the last ones, as I liked how we had this support trend line and we were able to have a nice hammer candle close above on Tuesday, which I thought was very bullish going into earnings. We then saw a nice gap up on Wednesday and unfortunately gapped down and closed lower on Thursday, retesting that 200 SMA. Friday we were able to close above, which is bullish, and depending on if we can get back above that resistance will be very important. If not, we will most likely break below that 200 SMA, carrying lower on Penn. The next level I'll be watching out for if we break below that 200 SMA is at 75, as it was used previous resistance quite a couple of times. That is all of the plays we were watching last week. If you guys are still watching, make sure you like and subscribe, and if you're up to it, please click that link in the description to join our free Discord. But now let's get into the plays that we'll be watching this week. The first play I'll be watching is PLTR. We are definitely in for a treat this week, and I will be honest that it is not a good one, as this chart is not setting up as bullish as I would like. I know a lot of you are holding PLTR for the long term, as it has been one of those hype stocks throughout the year. As much as I do think PLTR may be a good investment for the long term, a lot of people have been caught up in the hype, and we do have a nice gap to fill to the downside. In early November, we saw a huge push up from $11 to $33 a share in the matter of weeks, and now with earnings coming up, I do think we will sell off to fill that gap to the downside. The reason for this, PLTR is still up over 100% since they went public on the market, and many of those hype stocks that have been reporting earnings have sold off. As a matter of fact, many companies in general that have reported earnings have sold off no matter how good their earnings are. If PLTR blows earnings out of the water, it could be a different story, but I do think we will see a sell-off after earnings and a possible continuation to the downside. I won't be looking to play earnings, but rather the continuation. If we do blow earnings out of the water, I'd watch for a retest of this 21, 22.5, and then 200 SMA at 23. But if we do break below, there really isn't too strong of a support saving us from retesting that $15 to $14 level, so I will be looking to play the continuation on that. The next play this week, I've said it so many times and I will continue to say it, we've gotten a breakout on GDX and GLD, which I'll cover in a bit, but we did see a gap up on Friday. I was expecting for us to retest after not being able to break above on Thursday. I wanted to see a pullback to that 9 SMA on the daily, but we did see a gap up on Friday, pushing above that 200 SMA and closing above. This is very bullish on GDX, and I do like the chances if we can get above 37.50 on Monday or Tuesday or the rest of this week, we should retest 39. As long as we can stay above that 200 SMA, it is very bullish. With the more inflation fears coming in, this and GLD will run. Now, if we pull up GLD, we saw a nice break on Thursday, and on the weekly chart, we have this really bullish break with that crossover in MACD, which is very bullish, and RSI still sitting about 55, so we definitely have some room to run. I'll be watching for both of these, but mostly GDX, as this has been our baby for the past couple of months. She's really been powering since we called it out at 30.50. It's played out exactly how we've expected, and I do expect it to retest these levels. If we can break 39, we will retest 41, but I think we will see some consolidation between 37 and 39 before then. I'll keep you all updated with this, but it is definitely one of the top plays going into next week. And the last and final play, and probably my favorite, is BABA. I've been adding BABA heavy for the long term, as at these levels it is a really positive pickup. But I do think we will finally see a breakout on BABA this week. We formed this resistance trend line, and we have had this support for a while, and with earnings coming up, I think we either see a run up into earnings, or if we beat, we can see a nice break of this resistance trend line. BABA is only pricing in a $7.50 move, so depending on how we move, I don't think it'll be just enough to break out, but it will be plenty to break below. So if we don't get bullish earnings, or we do sell off like most companies have been, I think we will see some movement to the downside, possibly to that 213 level, which would be bearish. Now, if we see a run up that is bullish, I'll be watching that 232, 235, and 240 level. And if we see a sell off going into earnings, I'll be watching that 225 and then $220 level as support. If we break all the way below there, we'll watch that 213, but if we can break up, I think we will finally see BABA return to some equilibrium of market value, as right now it is very undervalued. Those are the top 3 plays for the week. I update them regularly in the Discord every single day after market close. But that is all for today. I hope you guys had a great week. If you find this video useful, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.